Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about the 1981 Stephen King novel Cujo and demonstrating some of the points to look for in identifying a first US edition and a first UK edition. I'll also be showing off the special edition from PS Publishing that was released in honor of the 40th anniversary of the novel in 2021. We'll start by talking about the US first edition, which was published in 1981 by Viking. Compared to modern first edition runs, which can be hundreds of thousands, million copies, Cujo is relatively scarce at only 150,000 copy print run for the first edition. First thing to look for, if you see this in a bookstore, is the jacket price of $13.95. Other points to look for: on the back flap of the dust jacket, look for the address of the Viking Press on the jacket and on the copyright page, which is right there. Look for the language first published in 1981, right here. Later printings of the first edition will have a number line to indicate which printing it is. The true first edition has no number line. So the copyright page should look just like that. And underneath the jacket, you'll have tan boards and black cloth over the spine with silver lettering. And the book should measure 9.5 by 6.25 inches, which puts it squarely in line with most modern first edition books. The UK first edition was published in 1982 by MacDonald in the UK. So these books are not hard to find, although as with many early UK editions, I believe the print run was significantly less than the 150,000 copy American run. I'm not exactly sure what the total was. You'll find these books fairly often on eBay or resellers, and they most usually have a blank jacket with no price. There's still words, there's just no price listed on the jacket. And what my understanding is that those are considered export jackets, which were printed without a price so they could be shipped and sold in markets throughout Europe, but other than in Great Britain, so that stores and resellers could price the books at whatever they wanted in the local currency. And it wouldn't be confusing for folks to have the 6.95 pounds net in UK only price on the jacket. Nevertheless, this is the first UK edition, should have a printed price on the jacket. As you can see, the cover image is very similar to the United States first edition, but it is printed, the title is printed in gold, which is kind of a cool touch. Ditto on the spine, title printed in gold. And the back covers look different. I'm actually partial to the suave, bearded author picture on the back of the US edition, personally. A few additional things to look for on the UK first edition. On the copyright page, if I can find it, you will see the language first published in Great Britain in 1982 by MacDonald & Co. Publishers Limited, which is right here. And that is the rest of the UK copyright page. Underneath the jacket, you have a solid color, pretty typical of UK editions. A solid color This could be paper. I've heard it described as cloth. It could be some kind of treated cloth. I'm not 100% sure, but regardless, it looks fine. I am more partial to the US edition because I just like the feel of the cloth over the spine, but they both get the job done. There was a signed limited edition published in 1981. I think it was Stephen King's second ever signed limited edition, the first being Firestarter from Fantasia Press. The limited of Cujo was published by the Mysterious Press and was limited to 750 copies. There was also a premium lettered edition of, I think, 26 copies. And of course, those are both very valuable these days and true collector's items. The PS Publishing Company in the UK has been releasing 40th anniversary editions of Stephen King books over the last several years. They have some that are out of order that don't necessarily correspond to the 40th anniversary, but other ones that fall on the 40th, and Cujo is one of those. This is the gift edition. They also do lettered editions of 26 copies that are signed by Stephen King that are incredibly expensive and incredibly valuable and rare, as you can imagine. The gift editions are much more obtainable. They're usually available at a pretty predetermined and pre-advertised window for ordering, and they go out of print. And once they are newly in the hands of collectors and resellers, then they change hands for a price pretty close to original list price. And then as things settle in the secondary market, they do tend to gain in value. They are a good investment. So out of 1,000 copies, this is copy number 100. It looks like it's signed by Stephen King, but that's just a facsimile signature. That's something that PS does, and it says right on there, facsimile signature. So I don't feel like it's false advertising in any way, and I do like having the image of Stephen King's signature in the book, even though it is not an authentic signature. It also has the signatures of the artists. Glenn Chadbourne is an artist who has fans and he has detractors. His style is very distinctive. This is the pretty unique slipcase for this edition. And the dust jacket art, the cover artwork, is pretty interesting. I find myself staring at it and I don't know if I should feel scared, if I should feel sad, if I should feel cuddly, like I want to just reach out and fluff Cujo's big scary head. I think that's what they were going for. It's very interesting. Interesting image. Whoops. And like all what the PS editions have, they also have their fans and detractors. But what the PS editions, where they really shine, is in the artwork and just the amount of artwork. So from a fully illustrated slipcase to a dust jacket to an illustrated boards on the book, illustrated end papers, and then dozens, I'm not even kidding, dozens of illustrations throughout. Oops, let me find this page. For instance, that's the image from the slipcase. More artwork. So it's in Glenn Chadbourne's distinctive style. And like I said, some people love it, some people aren't big fans. It is a busy sort of pen and ink style that is full of all these cross-hatching and lines and shading. And it does not necessarily lend itself well to reproduction in a small format book. And I feel like this edition of Cujo loses something from the translation to a smaller trim size, but the artwork still comes across just fine. So yeah, there is artwork throughout this book. It is packed. There's the back and paper image. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. 40th anniversary edition of Cujo from PS Publishing. As you can see, the PS Publishing edition is shorter and has just a generally overall smaller trim size than the US and UK first editions. In fact, the PS editions are more in line with the size of the original Doubleday Stephen King releases from the 70s. And that's another factor that sort of annoys some people. American signed limited or special gift editions tend to be very grand in size and would likely dwarf the original first edition. PS goes a different route, and their books are more compact, and I'm a fan. I like their style. I think they have a unique thing going. The quality, subjectively, doesn't feel as high. It just doesn't come across as deluxe, but they also pack the artwork in, and the quality is still fine. It's certainly better than a trade edition would be, and their prices are reasonable, usually $120 to $130 approximately in the US, and shipping sometimes can be fairly high from the UK to the US, but you can spend $130, $140 on a book to get it shipped to the US, and then within a few years it may have doubled or even more its value. It is a good investment and an easy buy for Stephen King fans. They've been averaging about one new release every year. This year, 2022, they recently released their edition of Needful Things, which is really cool, and I understand in the future they'll be doing Firestarter, different seasons, and 11/22/63, and probably more, so that will be something to definitely keep an eye on, and I will put their website address in the description. As far as the story itself, I first read Cujo when I was a teenager, and I thought that it was brilliant and breathless. There are no chapter breaks. The story just kind of barrels along and builds in suspense, particularly with Donna and Tad stranded in the Ford Pinto in the driveway of the Camber's garage. And I recommended it to other people. I was very enthusiastic about it. I recently reread it just in the last couple of years, and I hated it. I respected it, and I admired what Stephen King was able to accomplish. But the big difference being is that now I'm a grown-up, and I identified more with Donna and with her husband Vic, and I have a son who, as I was rereading the story, was exactly the same age as Tad in the story, and it just made me sick with dread and just misery thinking about the situation, especially sort of, spoiler alert, knowing where the story would go. I did finish it, and when I got the PS Illustrated edition, I put it on my shelf, and I kind of hated it a bit because of my feelings about the story, and I seriously considered selling it or passing it on, but I've held on to it, and my feelings have tamped down a little bit from the highs of my reread emotional state, and now I'm glad I have it. It is a famous story made into a famous movie. The movies have been a blessing and a curse for Stephen King, but they have certainly helped him become very visible and very well known to people. It is one of the iconic classic high point novels of his first 12 or 13 year run of his career, and I am glad that I have it. I understand Stephen King wrote the novel in a really dark and challenging period of his alcoholism and his drug addiction, and now he doesn't even remember writing it, which makes me kind of sad because it is a very well put together piece of work, and to me very cleverly structured, and regardless of his mental state when he was writing it, it is definitely a high point in his career. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope this has been enjoyable, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.